Ah, my family. They don't know what it's like to be pushed to the edge, to have every ounce of strength drained from your bones and yet be forced to rise again. To have the world turn its back on you while they smile and pretend they're the ones in control. But don't mistake this for weakness, because I see the game they played, the lies they fed, the manipulations they spread like a virus. They thought they were untouchable, that they had crafted their own little world, bending everything to their will. They thought they had won, that they had the power to control every move, every breath, every decision. They thought they could crush me and walk away without a second thought. But they didn't realize something that is always lurking in the shadows, a force that is far more relentless than any hand they could play. Karma. I can feel it now, their arrogance lingering in the air like a toxic cloud, poisoning everything around them. They didn't see the storm coming. They never do. They got too comfortable, too sure of themselves. They thought they were untouchable. They thought their lies and deceit would shield them from any consequence. But karma has a funny way of turning the tables when you least expect it. The very game they played, the one they thought they had mastered, became their undoing. They used people, tore them apart without a second thought. They trampled over anyone who dared to stand in their way, manipulating every situation to their advantage. They believed they were the architects of their own success, blind to the fact that the world doesn't work like that. You cannot build your empire on the backs of others without eventually facing the consequences. And now they will see what happens when you push too far. When you push people to the edge, they find their strength in places you can't even imagine. I know what it feels like to be broken, to be used and discarded without a second thought, to be betrayed by those who claim to be allies, only to realize you were nothing more than a pawn in their game. I know what it's like to trust and to have that trust shattered in an instant. But here's the thing. All that pain, all that suffering, it doesn't go to waste. It builds something inside you. It hardens you, sharpens you. It gives you the resilience to fight back. They think they played the game, but they don't realize that karma has a way of leveling the playing field. You see, karma doesn't care about who you are or what you've done. It doesn't care about the power you think you have, the position you've put yourself in. It's impartial. It's ruthless. And it has a memory that stretches far beyond the span of a single lifetime. Every action, every decision, every move you make leaves a mark. And when you play with people's lives, when you tear them down for your own gain, you plant the seeds of your own downfall. They thought they were invincible. But now, they'll see that there's a price to pay for everything. The game they played has turned against them, and they're about to learn that lesson the hard way. What they don't understand is that karma doesn't forget. It watches, it waits, it gathers strength. It doesn't act on impulse. It waits for the right moment to strike. And when it does, when it finally comes for them, it will be like a flood. It will drown them in their own lies, their own deceit. They will have nowhere to run, no one to turn to. They will see that their actions have consequences, and those consequences will be far greater than they ever imagined. I've seen it before. I've seen the way the world humbles those who think they are untouchable. They rise to the top, thinking they have it all figured out. But there's always a breaking point. There's always a moment when the universe decides it's time for them to face the music. And that moment is coming. They've played their cards, and now they will watch as everything crumbles around them. Every lie, every betrayal, every decision made with malicious intent will come back to haunt them. Karma is coming for them, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. They thought they played the game, but they didn't understand the rules. They didn't understand that the game is never over until it's over. They didn't understand that the universe has a way of correcting the scales when they tip too far in one direction. And now, they will see the result of their actions. They will see what happens when you think you can manipulate and control the lives of others for your own benefit. They will see how karma works when it's unleashed. But here's the thing. I don't revel in this. I don't take pleasure in the downfall of others. I don't want to see them suffer. But they've created this reality for themselves. They've built their empire on the misery of others. And now, they must face the consequences. It's not about vengeance. It's about balance. It's about the natural order of things. When you play with fire, you get burned. When you lie and cheat, the truth will eventually come to light. And when you betray people, those very people will rise stronger than ever before. They will rebuild themselves, and in doing so, they will become the force that brings you to your knees. What they don't understand is that the game was never theirs to win. The game was never about power or control or manipulation. The game was always about integrity, about honor, about standing tall when the world tries to push you down. The game was about resilience, and they failed. They thought they could break me, but they didn't realize that every time they pushed me, every time they tried to tear me down, I grew stronger. I became more determined. I became more focused. I became the force that would one day make them pay for their actions. And now, that time has come. Karma doesn't need to be quick. It doesn't need to strike immediately. It's patient. It waits. And when the time is right, it delivers its judgment. They will not see it coming. They will think they are invincible until the moment they are brought to their knees. They will realize too late that the game they played was never a fair one. They will see that they were never in control. They will see that their actions have consequences far beyond what they could ever have imagined. And in that moment, they will understand. They will understand that karma is the ultimate force in this world, and there's no escaping its grasp. So let them enjoy their moment of victory. Let them bask in their false sense of triumph. Because it will be short-lived, the tables will turn, and when they do, they will wish they had never played the game at all. They will wish they had never tried to manipulate, to control, to destroy. But it will be too late. The damage will have been done, and there will be no way to undo it. Karma will have its due, and there is no escaping it. They thought they played the game, but what they didn't realize is that they were nothing more than pawns in a much larger scheme. They were never in control. The universe has a way of setting things right, of balancing the scales when they tip too far in one direction. And now, it's their turn to pay the price. The game has turned, and the consequences of their actions will be felt in ways they never imagined. They thought they played the game, but what they didn't realize was that the rules were never theirs to define. They weren't the ones who controlled the fate of the game. They were merely actors in a much bigger play that they could never understand, no matter how hard they tried. They thought they could escape the consequences of their actions because they believed they were clever enough to outsmart the world, that they were quick enough to slip through the cracks unnoticed and untouchable. But here's the thing they failed to understand. The cracks they slipped through would eventually catch up with them, as all cracks do. Their game was always about deception, manipulation, and exploitation. It wasn't a game of honor or respect. It was a game of control. They believed they had the upper hand because they were willing to do anything to keep their position, including destroying the lives of those who had once trusted them. They played with people's hearts, their livelihoods, their futures. They used others as stepping stones to climb higher, believing that the higher they got, the safer they would be. They thought they had outsmarted the system, that they were too clever for karma to ever catch up with them. But they were wrong. Karma doesn't work on timelines that you can predict. It doesn't operate on the terms of the manipulator. It doesn't move when you tell it to. Karma moves when it needs to, in the time and manner it sees fit. And it doesn't forget. Oh no, karma has an incredible memory, far sharper than the minds of the deceivers who thought they had everything under control. Every action, every lie, every betrayal was logged. Every single piece of the game they thought they played was recorded, stored in the vast, unyielding ledger of the universe. They thought they were invincible. They thought they were getting away with it. But they weren't. The thing about people who live in the darkness of deceit is that they often forget one simple fact. You can't outrun your own actions. No matter how many walls you build, no matter how high the towers you construct to protect your lies, eventually they crumble. And when they do, everything you thought you had is lost. You see, karma isn't in a rush to deliver its punishment. It takes its time. It waits, it gathers strength, and when the moment is right, it delivers with unrelenting force. And when it strikes, it's not just a slap on the wrist. It's not a light tap. No, karma makes sure to leave an impact. It makes sure that those who think they are beyond reach understand exactly how small they really are in the grand scheme of things. The universe doesn't need your permission to act. It doesn't need your approval to deliver justice. And the thing about karma is that it's always justified, always fair, no matter how much you try to twist the world to your favor. Those who think they can break the rules without consequence forget that the universe has its own way of dealing with wrongs. They think they can play their games and get away with it. But when the tide turns, when the tables are flipped, they won't recognize the world they thought they had mastered. The truth they'll soon face is that the power they sought wasn't real power at all. They thought their wealth, their influence, their manipulation made them untouchable. But the truth is, all they've ever had is an illusion of control. You can buy many things in this world: prestige, position, even loyalty for a time. But what you cannot buy is true power. Power doesn't come from wealth or status. It doesn't come from being able to break others down and push them to the ground. True power comes from knowing that every action you take, every word you speak, leaves an imprint on the world. It comes from understanding that everything you do affects the balance of life and the universe around you. And when you abuse that power, when you play with people's lives like they're mere pawns in your game, the universe makes sure to set things right. They thought they were the ones pulling the strings. They thought they could dictate who won and who lost, who succeeded and who failed. But what they didn't understand is that there's always a bigger force at play. They didn't know the weight of the things they were doing. They didn't know that the lies they told and the lives they shattered would come back to haunt them in ways they never expected. It's almost poetic, in a way, how karma works. It doesn't strike you immediately. It doesn't make itself known at the time of your first betrayal, your first deceit. It waits, it watches, it gathers its strength, and then, when you least expect it, it unleashes everything you've earned. But don't confuse karma with revenge. Karma isn't about retribution in the way the world may want to believe. It's not about getting even or seeking to destroy. No, karma is about balance. It's about restoring what was taken and ensuring that no one gets away with destroying the lives of others without facing the consequences. What's been broken is mended, what's been stolen is returned, and those who caused harm are forced to understand the depth of their actions. Karma isn't some petty force. It's an inevitable reckoning, and no one escapes it. They didn't know this. They thought they could manipulate everyone, control everything, but they were just playing into karma's hands. Because every time they betrayed someone, every time they took advantage of another person, karma took note. Every small, insignificant wrong was logged. Every big, life-changing deception was stored, and the universe patiently waited for the right time to right the wrongs they had done. In the end, it's not the manipulator who wins. It's never the one who destroys for their own gain. It's the ones who stay grounded in the face of adversity, who continue to rise despite being knocked down, who understand that the true strength lies in standing up again and again, no matter how hard life hits. It's the ones who have endured pain and betrayal, who have been broken and rebuilt, who emerge stronger, sharper, and more determined than ever. The ones who were pushed into the darkness only to find the fire inside themselves. These are the ones who karma favors. These are the ones who rise when the tables are turned. And when those who thought they had everything fall from their heights, when they lose everything they thought they had, that's when they'll see. They'll see that no matter how many people they hurt, no matter how many lies they told, they were never truly in control. They were never truly the ones playing the game. They were just pawns in a much larger scheme. And now, the consequences of their actions are about to unfold. There's no escaping the truth. You can hide from it. You can suppress it. You can do everything in your power to avoid it. But eventually, it finds you. And when it does, it doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't care about your wealth or status. It doesn't care about the lies you've told or the game you've played. The truth will always come to the surface. It will always reveal itself. And when it does, the consequences will be inevitable. The world doesn't forget. They thought they were invincible. They thought they could play the game and come out on top. But karma has its own way of turning the tables. And now they're going to find out just how powerless they really are. Because karma doesn't care how rich you are, how powerful you think you are, how many lives you've destroyed. Karma doesn't care about your twisted games. It only cares about restoring balance. And it always wins in the end. The tables are turning, and they are about to witness firsthand what happens when you think you can manipulate the world without facing the cost. The game is over, and karma is the final judge. They thought they played the game. But now, the tables have turned, and they will be the ones who learn the hard way that you can't escape your actions forever. Karma always has the final word. No matter how many lies you tell, no matter how much you think you've outsmarted the world, there will come a day when you realize that the game was never in your hands. They thought they were clever enough to outwit the system, to sidestep the consequences of their actions, to erase their footprints from the sands of time, leaving no trace of the damage they caused. They believed they could deceive their way into a life of uninterrupted success. But what they failed to understand is that the universe has a long memory, and karma doesn't forget. Karma watches, it observes, it waits for the precise moment to strike. And when it strikes, it doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't care about your intentions, your justifications, or your excuses. It cares only about restoring balance, about ensuring that the wrongs are righted and the justice that was denied is finally served. They believed they were untouchable, that they were above the laws of cause and effect. They thought that their cunning and ambition would shield them from the inevitable reckoning. But they were wrong. The truth is, no one can escape their own actions forever. No matter how much you try to bury the past or hide the consequences of your decisions, eventually, those choices come to light. And when they do, they come crashing down with a force that is impossible to ignore. Karma doesn't come softly. It doesn't knock gently on your door. When it arrives, it does so with a thunderous roar, shaking the foundations of everything you thought you built. Those who live by deception may thrive for a time. They may bask in their ill-gotten victories, enjoying the fruits of their manipulation and exploitation. But every action has its counterpart, and every lie creates a debt that will eventually need to be repaid. They thought they had all the answers. They thought they could rewrite the rules, twist the game in their favor. But the game was never theirs to control. The game was always bigger than them, and karma is the ultimate player, the force that ensures balance is restored, no matter how much effort they put into subverting it. The idea that you can harm others without facing repercussions is a dangerous illusion. It's easy to get caught up in the temporary satisfaction that comes with getting ahead by stepping on others. It's easy to think that the world owes you something and that you can take whatever you want without paying the price. But the truth is, there is always a price, and it's always higher than you think. Every time they lied, every time they deceived, every time they hurt someone to make themselves feel powerful, they were adding to the weight that would one day crush them. Karma's weight doesn't come all at once. It's slow, it's subtle, but when it's ready to strike, it hits with a force so powerful that no one can escape its wrath. They didn't understand the power of the universe. They didn't understand that they were not gods, not masters of their own fate. They thought they could manipulate everything around them, thinking that by controlling people, they were controlling their world. They didn't realize that people aren't pawns, that every life they touch leaves a mark on the universe, and that every wrong they did would eventually come back to haunt them. They were living in an illusion, in a bubble of their own creation, unaware that the walls they built around themselves would one day collapse, exposing them for who they truly were. Now, as they watch everything they thought they controlled unravel before their eyes, they're beginning to understand. They're beginning to realize that no matter how hard they tried, no matter how many lies they told, they were never in control. The truth always has a way of coming to the surface. The actions they took to hurt others, to push themselves to the top at the expense of those they trampled, have all led them to this moment. And now, they must face the consequences of their arrogance, their deceit, and their cruelty. But karma doesn't act out of spite. It doesn't take pleasure in your suffering. It's not about vengeance. Karma simply seeks to restore balance. It's the universe's way of ensuring that what's been broken is fixed, that what's been taken is returned, and that those who caused harm must face the repercussions of their actions. It's a force of nature, like gravity. It's unstoppable, inevitable, and fair. Doesn't matter how many people you deceive or how many lies you tell. Eventually, everything you've done comes back to you. The downfall of those who thought they were untouchable isn't sudden. It's not a sharp and immediate fall. No, the way karma works is far more insidious. It's like a slow-burning fire that builds over time. They may not feel it at first. They may think they're safe, that they've escaped the wrath of their own actions. But like the pressure building beneath the surface of the earth, one day it will erupt. And when it does, it will be a cataclysmic event, one that will shake them to their core. They will see everything they built collapse, every lie they told exposed, and every person they betrayed standing tall while they fall. But what's even more terrifying is that they won't see it coming. Karma doesn't announce itself. It doesn't warn you of the consequences of your actions. It simply arrives when the time is right, when it can no longer be avoided. And when it does, it's not a gentle reminder. It's not a slap on the wrist. It's a reckoning. It's the moment when they finally understand the price they've been paying all along, and it's a price they can't afford to pay. They thought they had mastered the art of the game, that they were too clever to be caught, too powerful to be stopped. But in reality, they were just dancing on the edge of a cliff, blind to the danger lurking below. They thought they had the world under their thumb, that they could manipulate the system to work in their favor. But they failed to see that the system wasn't something they could control. It was something that controlled them, and no matter how much they tried to bend it to their will, it would eventually break free of their grasp. Now, they stand at the edge, staring into the abyss they've created. They can't escape. They can't run. Karma has already made its decision, and there's no way to avoid the consequences. The very things they took for granted, the power, the wealth, the control, will slip through their fingers like sand. And when they finally realize what they've lost, when they see the true cost of their actions, it will be too late. The damage will have already been done. They will be left with nothing but the ruins of their own arrogance. There's no escaping the truth. There's no escaping karma. It's a force of nature, a law of the universe that cannot be broken. No matter how much you try to fight it, no matter how much you try to deny it, karma will always find its way to you. It doesn't matter how long it takes or how hard you try to avoid it. Sooner or later, it will come for you. And when it does, it will make sure that you pay the price for every wrong you've committed, for every life you've ruined, for every lie you've told. There's no hiding from it. There's no way out. They thought they could outsmart the universe. They thought they could play the game and come out on top. But what they didn't realize is that the universe doesn't play by their rules. It doesn't follow their script. It operates on a different level, one that they can never fully understand. And when they tried to manipulate it, when they thought they had won, they were simply setting the stage for their own downfall. Karma always has the final word, and in the end, the game was never theirs to win. It was never in their hands. It was always in the hands of something much bigger, much more powerful, and much more just. And now, as they watch everything they thought they had crumble away, they will finally understand what it means to play with fire. Because when you play with fire, you get burned, and there's no escaping the consequences when karma comes to collect. They thought they played the game, but in the end, it was karma that had the final say. In the end, they thought they controlled the game, that their lies and manipulations would keep them safe, but karma always has the final word. No matter how clever they were, no matter how high they climbed, the consequences of their actions were inevitable. The universe, in its quiet but unrelenting way, ensures that balance is restored. No one can escape what they have sown, and in the end, it is karma that decides when the reckoning comes. They thought they were invincible, but now they understand that no one is.